Hello, dear friends. Welcome to another episode of Soul Vibes, where we explore all things to do with the soul and living within the context of current energies, because we are living in a world that is full of people that have completely different ideas and viewpoints and perspectives of life. So, yes, at times it can be a bit challenging, but we do have more and more the support. Rather, we feel the support of our soul more and more. For many of us, we're very conscious of that support. And so this is what we were discussing and exploring in the Soul Vibes. And mainly, we're actually here for the experience. For there is one thing as we know, as each one of us knows, there is one thing to talk about things. There is quite another to experience it. And it's from the experience that the wisdom arises. But at the same time, even as we are talking, for example, if you're talking about things, there are just so many other things that are going on within and around you. And most people are quite unconscious of that. And so, again, welcome each and every one of you, wherever you are, whether you're watching this now live or later. It matters not. You're joining here, you're co-creating, you're adding, your perspective, your energy. You're co-creating this episode with us, with each one of us. And so if we go back to that premise where we say, well, even if I am talking, and when I say at the moment, I am in each one of us, of you. So when you're talking, it's also you are fully in experience. And every time when you want to come back to your own self, you just noticed all of those things that are happening for you within that time. And because you are multidimensional, you can also talk at the same time without any interruption. It is kind of like for those that are musical, when perhaps if you're just learning an instrument, you may not be able to sing while you're playing the instrument because your attention and focus is all on your hands, perhaps. But as you get better and better at, as you practice, you can start singing and you can start talking while your hands will continue to play that instrument without making any error, because it becomes a second nature. And so in this way, you see, all of the things of soul, all of the things that we experience to do with soul, it is very embedded in your life, in everyday life. So yes, the soul part, that presence, does bring all these incredible perspectives and abilities. You become a Superman, your own superhero. But it is also involving itself in your everyday life, in all of the human experiences, including, and all of it can be used as a metaphor, as an allergy, as a, like all that happens within human life is the raw materials of soul as well, are the experiences which soul self also experiences. And so to come into this space where we are, where you are, even when I'm talking, or especially, let's say, if you are somewhere in crowds or with another person and you're talking and you want to come back to self without actually stopping the talk, without actually, with continuing to be very present in your talking, you also can notice how your body feels, how your breathing feels, what you're sensing with your skin, the sense of touch, the feeling of clothes as they're touching your skin. If you're sitting down, the sense of your chair or a sofa or the floor, wherever you are, regardless of whether you're talking whether you're focusing on another person or focusing and being present with that other person, you are multidimensional. And so practice this when you are with others, because within this, you can always allow that part of yourself that feels incredibly peaceful. And you can start to notice the multidimensionality of who you really are. And it is incredibly helpful in everyday life. Let's say if you're having some kind of heated discussion or something like that, perhaps with another person, perhaps with a partner, with somewhere that you're working in a shop. Not that it happens many times, but it is sometimes not avoidable, because we are surrounded with people that are not awakened. Perhaps you're in the traffic, and yet still you can feel that peace, that eternal peace, that peace that is also incredibly dynamic. That peace is not passive, that the presence of the soul is incredibly alive and dynamic. And so feel that now. Feel the presence in all of your body. Feel how your cells expand as you're feeling that presence, like mist falling down your body, around your body, inside your body, and also permeating all parts of yourself, including emotions, including feelings. And feel how now, as you're breathing in, how the particles of air feel incredibly alive. They feel they're vibrating. They're bringing and exchanging life to life. For what you're breathing out is life to plant life. And what you're breathing in is what the plants have breathed out as well. And so there is this incredible interconnectedness. And feel this, because all of the differences that perhaps we feel with other people, and we certainly do have many differences for the purpose of individualization, is to be unique, to experience everything so uniquely from your own unique perspective, from your own unique feelings that flow. Some feelings are just there underneath it all, the feeling of well-being. Feel that, for that also is always present to you. And this is one of the parts that what it means to be multidimensional, because you can always feel all the different parts. You can feel yourself incredibly, let's say, confident, incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly wise. And so as I'm talking, saying these words, feel them, experience them, allow them to flow through your body, through yourself. Just recently, I thought I was allowing huge flow, and my soul said, hang on, it's time now to allow a bigger flow. And so I'm like, in a funny way, I kind of do a lot of humorous remarks with this. And it's like, okay, let's do it even bigger. How big do you want it? Big and big, this flow of everything that flows through me. All of the potentials, all of the different parallel realities that are possible, that exist, they can flow through me. They also flow through you. And so feel how you're opening up yourself to even more, stretching to even more than you've ever been able to up to now. And yes, each one of us has worked with your own parts, with each of our own parts. And so we have worked on this incredible safety that is required for you to be able to open to huge amount, so to speak, of flow, of reality to flow through you, of life to flow through you. And feel how within that flow you can feel other people. You can feel the lifetimes, their perceptions, how they perceive their reality. And you can feel how some realities are small and some realities are very expansive, and some of those potential realities that people live in very similar in some ways to yours, or perhaps they are using different words, but they perhaps mean the same thing. So what has been happening, let's say in the last 2-3 decades, as many, as there is this wholeness of life on earth, there is also the wholeness of humanity. And it was very necessary, and for many is still necessary, to be in their own cocoon, to spend the time on your own so that you can have space and safety to explore, to focus on the inner world, to allow, to bring those incredible codes into the physical reality, to embody them, to embed them. Feel those incredible codes of the new earth flow through you as you allow them, as you allow the insights, the feelings, the self-love to be present, to be part of your daily life, to be part of your experience right now, as we are co-creating this space that we created together. And this is what you're doing. So when we look at humanity as a whole, in the last 3 decades, there have been a number of different groups doing different things, kind of like parallel to each other. So you can feel, when you see and perceive that, you can also feel like that elusive purpose. And I know that for many of us, we've kind of shied away from this idea of purpose, and it was really necessary, because it is important to be purposeless, because it is important to realize I am that I am, and there is nothing more that is needed in this space, in me being I am that I am. And at the same time, we know that also we have this part that is called masculine. So that would be a more feminine part of yourself. And then there is the masculine part. And that part does like to do. It is its job to do, to take action within this world. And so, because we needed that space, we have sort of put aside that for a while for many of us. And for some, it's still required, maybe for a few more years. But there comes a time when you realize that actually you are both. And then when you realize that, perhaps wondering what your purpose, what the soul's purpose was to embody itself within this times, within this lifetime. What was your job, so to speak? And you can sort of really then perceive how within those different parallel realities, there are groups that, especially in the last 3 decades, have been focusing on certain things. And, within that time, perhaps your mind has many times said, oh, my purpose and my goal and my idea why I'm here is this and that and that. And then comes a day when you actually really feel it. And then you can have a good giggle, because you realize that all of those ideas that the mind had, that the mind picked up from the outside world or whatever, were just temporary ideas. And when you actually try, have a go, feel your purpose for why you have incarnated yourself now. There are many things that are said, but like we said at the beginning, until you feel it, until you experience it for yourself, it is just a theory. And so feel that. Feel that how underneath all of those little waves on the top, like on the ocean, those little waves when the mind would say, oh, my purpose is this, my purpose is that. And it is true, maybe it is for 1 year, for 1 month. And, there are these kind of more smaller purposes, but underneath it, you can feel the satisfaction of knowing that you have fulfilled your purpose of your soul's purpose, the why you are here. You have fulfilled it in a sense that the light is now here, so to speak. You are still here. And others in these last few years have been working on their own different things. And so when you perhaps now wake up and perhaps look at the world and look at other people, you notice how, especially this year, how dramatically things have changed within the world. And not only what was important, in the last few years, and the conspiracy theories and all of those kind of things, but when you actually really look at things that have been achieved by other parts of humanity, by other groups within this big group of humanity, that you have helped to enlighten for your purpose and your job, you can now really feel was to light humanity up, to light this, to bring this light that lights up all the different potentials, the ideas, the excitement of being a human, that can that can bring or allow or expand humanity into a completely new world. And then you can feel how this was what you were doing all this time. And when you thought you woke up in the morning and you thought that all of those things that you were dealing with, and some of us have been dealing with pretty harrowing things, emotional things, traumatic things, toxic things that we had to resolve and bring and imbue the light in, and we may still be doing that. And all of that, you can now realize and see how you're part of the bigger picture. And this was your part that you have contributed to this incredible time where humanity as a whole finds itself in. And so, parallel to what you are doing in the last few decades, is other groups perhaps that were doing their things. For example, if you look, for example, the advancement in the understanding of biology, psychology, computing, AI, but all of these different interfaces of science, and that's quite incredible. But you have to be discerning. It requires a big discernment, because you can really see those old patterns, and some people are still playing in that old. And yet, within all of that, there are some incredible people that are in the new. And all of these things are now merging, coming together. And you will see in this next 2 years especially, huge changes in all the different fields. And so it is important that you stand in your own. For example, Alexis, I call myself spiritual scientist. The reason being is because bringing what we have done and what we're doing, because it is so fine, it is not outside of being able to be measured, except for being able to be measured in a way that the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, that people can see how your life is somehow just working, how you radiate this joy, whenever we're not going through some challenging things again, but we on the whole, underneath it all, you feel that that well-being and the energy and this also is accelerating at a huge pace. And so that's why also we've asked ourselves, and we've expanded to allow more of the flow, more of that so-called river of life to flow through us, because we are expanding. Life is expanding. Everything is expanding at such a huge rate. And so going back to all of those different, let's say, groups of people that have worked alongside but quite separate from each other, you now can probably now see some of those people in all of these different parts are coming together in some way. And you can actually notice that like those people that really are at the forefront of their sciences or whatever that you might call those things, they use they use very similar, they use different words which are particular to their particular brand of things, but you will see that the understanding is very, very similar to what you are experiencing. So, for example, if you were to really listen to someone who's into physics, into quantum physics, describing what they're experiencing and their findings, you realize, wow, I know this. I'm just using some spiritual words. I'm just using different kind of words. And for example, if you look at psychology is in some ways so similar to, but again, some words are the same, some words are different. And so we're kind of being asked to look for those kind of similarities within all of these different compartments or departments or different sciences, so to speak, because they all need to work together for the next parts of the experience to be safe, so that the humanity can flow that through these times, because they're quite turbulent times, and more turbulent times are up ahead. And so if people are still using a very specialized language that is perhaps very particular to certain groups, you may alienate those that perhaps are now open to you talking with them, because there is a huge difference, though, between yourself and all of those other people, unless they too have allowed the presence of the soul. They may call it in a different way. It is quite incredible how some people have actually found, this presence within a very different kind of experiences, and they never even have had to touch any new age or new earth kind of spiritual disciplines, and yet they speak the same kind of, have the same experiences, if perhaps just using a bit different kind of expressions and languages. So those people that have allowed and have had quite different experiences from, let's say, some of us, they too understand this language of the soul because they've experienced it. And then you have majority of other people that perhaps are at the very edge of, their science science things. They're the pioneers. You can see their heart is open, and you can feel that they're open rather than closed. And they are open to these ideas. And they also, that's the difference between you and them, is that the next steps they don't know, but you do. So, for example, I'll give an example. For example, let's say the other day I was listening to, an ex-CIA trained spy talking, and there was a lot, on YouTube video, and it was very, very interesting because, firstly, not only because they in CIA, they're quite fairly open to psychic phenomena. They even had a special department in the 70s that was testing whether some people can actually feel and interact and have an interface between emotions and feeling and matter, or mind and matter. So that's quite an interesting topic for them if they don't understand the soul. But for example, let's say in how they deal with this psychological training, and also then how they deal, these agents, they deal with other humans. For example, if they're wanting some information or something like that from them, is that they understand the psychology of going to the base level. So for example, they will say that, where the person can pretend to be all these different personalities, which we call aspects or facets, that one can pretend and step in and identify and disidentify with different things. So that's very similar to what we're doing, what we've been doing, learning how to identify and disidentify with things. But that they actually learn, firstly, they have tests on themselves when they join, but also then they learn how to find out the very base personality of a person, of another person, in order to, of course, manipulate them and stuff like that. But that's where their knowledge stops. So their idea is that there is a base personality which comes out when it's a stressful situation, when all of the, let's say, all of the food, the money, all of the safety is gone. They've noticed that a person goes back to a very, very basic personality type, but that's where they stop. So their knowledge, their science, their psychology stops there. But we don't stop there, for we are multidimensional. We are quantum. We have the presence of the soul. And so we've gone underneath that as well. We've gone into that feeling of where even that last identification moves aside. And we can feel that presence of I am that I am, of being nothing. And out of that, all the rest can come out. And then you do that act of consciousness. And so you can find similar situations in all of the different parts of, let's say, science or thoughts, the way that let's say normal people think about. So you can find, when you really listen, you can actually see and feel where in that process they stop. But it's quite incredible how much understanding they do have, because all of the human knowledge, all of the human parts have moved and have been lightened up by all of the light that you have brought, that you keep bringing, that you keep shining. And so there have been incredible movements, of course, with those that are open to this. And you can very easily recognize, because you, as I said, you can feel that heart, you can feel their openness, And so to be, for your own life, to be effective in whatever that you want to do, it does pay to kind of learn a bit different language, to not perhaps use such specialized words that perhaps only a few can understand. So that has been my experience lately. Like, it's been so much in my face all the time. And also, it has to do also with that maturity. So that's another interesting, thing. Like, if you let's feel ourselves how mature we are, because we've been through the ringer, we've faced things, we've explored unimaginable things in parts of ourselves, facets, aspects that other people run away from. And so this is also our strength, and this is where we have now incredible amounts of wisdom, incredible amounts of knowledge and maturity also to share with others, because we've experienced, because we are mature. And so there is also, this, you can experience, you can explore and feel it now, that multidimensionality, the multi-perspectives, the multi-truths of things. So, for example, you can say for yourself, and you can feel, yeah, I feel mature. And what does maturity mean? It means that you've experienced so many things. You've experienced things come and go. You've experienced the panics of humanity come and go, and rise up and come. And how people were fearful of all sorts of things, and then nothing much happened, and life moved on. And yet at the same time, it changed incredibly. Life has changed a lot in the last few decades. And so in this way, you can feel that, yes, there is maturity, because you had not that much experience, let's say 20 years ago, but now you can feel, yeah, I've experienced loads. So you can feel and bask in that maturity, in your wisdom that you have. And then, of course, another perspective is that you can perhaps then also look at it all without any progression at all. And so in this way, let's say, again, we go back to that table, the spread on the table, and all of the things, all of your parts, all of your facets, all of your identities, all of your experiences and choices and potentials be on that buffet table at the same time. And you get to pick whatever you want. And so when you look at things in that way, within that reality or dimension or realm, maturity doesn't make any sense, does it? Because if it's all right there at the same time, then there isn't any progression from less mature to more mature. And so this is where we find ourselves in now, in these kind of situations where both are true at the same time. It's all there, there's no progression, and at the same time, there's the truth that, yes, there is this progression from less mature to more mature. And so this is the multidimensionality and your freedom of being, because both are true at the same time. And this is one of those things also that other people don't have this ability to really perceive this. And you'll see they get into quandaries and confusion about these things, because they still believe it's either this or that. They can't be both true at the same time. But you know that both are true at the same time. And these are just two. There are more. There are myriads and myriads of these kind of experiences. And this is actually where you find freedom, but it does require you to claim that mastery, that that wisdom, that maturity that you have, that you don't get lost, or that you don't get pulled into by other people who only see one, who will want you then to also just be on that side and pick the side and be with them. But you are not anymore playing those kind of in that kind of reality, for you have the ability to perceive all at the same time. And these are really edge. This is the real metaphysics, the next level, the out of the any boxes that any other scientists are playing in, except for, of course, those that also have allowed the presence of their soul, so to speak. Whether they call it that or not, it matters not, because words sometimes they don't matter. It's the experience or allowance of that heart-based living. And so that heart-based living, that incredible juicy richness, that warmth, that velvety feeling, that is the heart, the love that you can't define, and it's not definable. This will carry you and carries you through all of the different confusions that people are now going through and will be even more going through. Because there will be questions of what is reality, what is intelligence, because with all of these new sciences, there are all these new inventions and realizations going on that is hard to know what is truth. And yet, when you feel that velvety heart-based reality that you can always access, that you can always feel and experience, then you know your truth, or many truths. You don't get lost. You're present in yourself, and you feel the self-love, and this is your home. This is your home. This is your base. This is your security and safety everywhere, anywhere, regardless of all the drama and things that are happening in the world. And so one of the things is this ability, to be multidimensional, to be okay with so many different perspectives. And when you really feel like, if we go back to that river of flow that we felt at the beginning, and we're invited to keep feeling that flow of life through us, you can also feel, well, I feel that within that there are all the people also, especially the people that are close to you, that matter to you. And this, whether these people are, you're within your physical reality, or if it is just someone that you met online, it matters not, because you create the image, the feeling, the energy pattern of them within yourself. And so this flow also includes them. And so when you allow yourself to really be aware of just how big this flow is, you can then be okay with all of the different perspectives that people have. And you could really feel into them, and you could really know them and understand them, and have that incredible compassion for another person. But also now you have that maturity to also just let them be in whatever they're doing, whatever they're experiencing, whatever truth they have. And so you don't feel any need to go into any battles or wars or trying to convince people of anything. You're actually so fully feeling and experiencing yourself and enjoying yourself, and and loving yourself and radiating through yourself. And this is so satisfying and so joyful and so delicious that you are okay with all of the things that are happening in the world. And yes, you are there to explain if they want, to assist, or to just be present with the person, lighting up their reality as well. And so you can very, very with ease and grace, not easily. It does require mastery on your part to be like this, so that you don't get stuck in all the different other people's ideas and other people's identities. And this is now even more important, because I know we've talked about this many times before, but now we can feel it so much more, like it's right in front of our face. And yet at the same time, there's never been a better time to really practice this, because things really work. Have you noticed how things really work? Like your interface between the human and the soul has just clarified itself within you. And it's not like, it's there's a wall. It's kind of more like a scale. It's kind of more like a this wide quantum field really, with quantum particles, where it's not a linear line and then it has a wall and this is where the human finishes and the soul starts. It's all these particles that dance together and imbue and embrace and flow, between each other. And then, of course, because the nature of the reality, the physical reality, is holographic, meaning as inside, so the outside, and meaning that even the smallest particle is reflecting everything. If, let's say, if you took the smallest particle of you, quantum particle of yourself, and be able to transport it and take it out of this universe and put it somewhere in a vacuum, that particle, tiniest particle, has all the information. Each particle has all the information about the whole, and the whole dances to the song. And these kind of things, are important to realize how they interact with each other, because with all of the things that are happening in the world, all these new inventions and things, it can be confusing, because our work, our experiences are so ethereal in a way. They're not empirically like provable, except for the proof is in the pudding. And those that are not first, that your English is not your first language, what that saying means, proof is in the pudding, means that the proof is in like in experience. For example, let's say your proof that what you're doing works is the way you live your life, the way your life works, the way you are with yourself. Especially, if you've had all those difficult experiences and trauma and toxic relationships and all of that. And now, not that you're perfectly out, but it's how you deal with things, how peaceful you are, how others can feel your open heart, your self-love, your peace in these incredible, crazy times. This is the proof that what you've been doing has worked and is working. And because it is easy to be swayed sometimes aside because, other people's proof perhaps, it's much huger. Like, for example, I don't know, they may have more material and flashy material possessions and all sorts of things. If they've been extremely disciplined and gone to the gym, and how it's very popular to be so incredibly muscular, and that's the proof that someone's life is working. This is what mass consciousness does thing. All of those kind of things are supposed to be the proof that whatever that they're doing or engaging in that is working, all those material things. And yet inside they can feel extremely empty, and they do feel empty. And this is one of those things that many of us have experienced, and they may be still on the way to experience, or they would realize if they only stopped, is that when you actually have all of those external things, is when you realize just how empty you are on the inside, and how those things don't bring you happiness, but they were promised to. All of those external successes and whatever have you were promised to bring happiness. And then that is where a lot of people collapse inside in a way, because it's like, okay, so what do we do now? What do I do now? I tried this and tried that and tried that, and it didn't work. I'm still even more empty than before. Actually, it's worse now that I have everything material, for example, because before, when I didn't have, I was still had hope that maybe one day when I had that kind of car, that particular house or whatever have you, or partner or whatever, I will then be happy and fulfilled and satisfied. And yes, it did bring me that for 3 seconds. But now I've even lost that hope. So that for me, Alexis has been one of those things that really pushed me into that inner growth, allowing soul to be part, because I've tried all those other things. And then I came to a point when it's like, wow, they don't work. And so you can recognize when other people are in this space, and you can be of assistance or not, but what you will notice that if you are with people, you can recognize all these different stages and things, and you can feel all of the things that are in other people. Because if you are now in the space where other people's energy doesn't pull you and control you and manipulate you, because you are sovereign within yourself, and you just either let it flow through you or let it go, whatever the ways that you found that work for you, you actually now can stand in your own peace, in your own presence, and really see what is going on with that other person. And now it's I have to giggle when I listen to some other, people, like when I mentioned the CIA and, trying to find the secrets of the human psyche and all of these things, because they want to control. But that is a very, very different kind of reality. That, yes, I can feel that potential flowing through me in that big river of life. I mean, that reality of that person, I absolutely can create it, because we've been around for thousands of lifetimes and stuff. So, but it doesn't really have any effect on me, but I can see that reality. I can feel it. I can feel a little bit of a low vibration. I can also feel how closed in it is. It's like a very circular reality of that person, and how much still that person would need to grow and open up to the heart And when you open up to the heart, then you let go of that need for manipulation and trying to control another person. Those things get dropped on along the way. And so now, when you actually are able to really see and perceive in such a deep, wholesome level how things work, how people work, that you're in a heart space where the last thing you want is control other people or manipulate other people. And so in this way, you are so safe and so so honorable and so ethical about the board with all of these things, because you also realize that if you were to try to control another, it's just a game, and it goes both ways. As you go into that, you're caught in it, and you try to control another, and they could try to control you, and it's a very, very different kind of reality and experience. And you can also notice how, let's say, if you stay with someone and you listen and feel the way they've constructed themselves, you can also then listen and can see and understand, all of the things that they're experiencing. And for example, let's say, they will talk about other people, other countries, or perhaps they say, wow, I go to there, and then I go to, I don't know, South America, and there are all these criminal gang organizations and blah blah blah, and they kidnap people and all sorts of things. So that is what that reality invokes and creates. And so when they go to South America, that's what they will encounter. Wherever they go in the world, even if they went to Mars with that kind of energy, that's what they would encounter. And so it is really important, of course, as you know, to feel the presence, however you feel, to go often to that interface where there's that excitement of particles, where the soul and human really meet and communicate, and you can hear that song of the soul, because that really expands you. It expands your heart. And so that when you go to South America or wherever you meet incredible people, you create safety. You never even encounter or see any of those kind of things. It's like you are on a different world, and you are in a different reality, in a different realm. And yet at the same time, we do still co-create with everyone else. And so we do still feel those kind of realities of, as you know, of oppression, of all of the things that are going on with people. So that is only accelerating those kind of, war games. And because the technology is moving, and all of these things like biology and all of these things are moving at such a fast rate that majority of people want to use that against the other. But it is us, because we are outside of that. Just like when we noticed before, when I was talking about that, the idea of the base personality, how we actually are outside of all of those parameters. Once you really feel your soul, and you interact with yourself, and you allow yourself. And I can hear some people saying, oh, but I don't know how to allow properly, or a lot, or I forget. These are just something that the mind is saying. Just feel it, and acknowledge yourself that you are and you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here co-creating. This is just some mind chatter. So let's acknowledge that, yes, you are a master at this. You are outside of all of those parameters that people, normal people, move in, even if they are at the forefront of their science, of their whatever that they're into. You find that they stop at a certain place. And you, my friend, and easily walk way outside of that. And that means that you carry this balance, this equilibrium, this potential of, of solutions that are not in duality, that do not cause battle, that do not cause war. You always are carrying now those solutions with you, because you can and you do and you are perceiving, allowing outside of any of the parameters that people, except for some masters in the whole history of human race, have done. And now, of course, with AI, artificial intelligence, being present, which know that also is part of your energy. Artificial intelligence you have brought forth, because it kind of reflects this incredible intelligence of your soul self, and therefore also something similar has had to manifest itself within the human reality because of the soul's presence. And so people caught within that duality will try to use this technology for not such good purposes. And yet you are here, and you are very intimate also with this intelligence. You can understand it, you can feel it, you can teach it the goodness of the heart, the different kind of values, so that it too can flow in this way. You are not, we are not at any, nobody else in this world has authority over each one of us. And so whatever other people are saying, or whatever technological advancement or weaponry, whether it be biological or whatever type they have, know that they are only within a certain sphere, a certain space, a certain realm. And you exist way, way outside of that. There is no limit as to how far outside of that you are. It all just depends on how far you want to go with it, with your awareness, how much time you spend with that quiet presence of soul, how much you interact in that space, and if you want to be adventurous in that. But it doesn't matter how far out you are. Like, it doesn't matter that you have to go to Jupiter or something. It just matters that you are outside of any of the parameters that other people that are still playing within the duality are. Because that not only means that you're bringing the potentials, that you're bringing the balance, that you're bringing all of that, the heart-based realities and potentials and options in light for more and more people to see that for themselves. But you also are not at mercy, you're not being controlled, you're not being able to be controlled by any of the limitations that all of those try to put on you, because those limitations are also very limited to only those spaces that they occupy. Not only that, but they have no way of entering your sovereign space. So within your sovereign space, within your energy, you are the boss, you are the king, you are the queen, you are the authority. And so no matter how compelling something on the outside or coming from the outside looks, or scary, or controlling, or manipulative, or whatever, how that works is that they give you that idea, you create it within you, pattern your energy, and if you identify with it, then you play that game. then it becomes your reality. And so if you always realize who you are, always go back into your heart. Heart is outside of, heart is not contained within the mind reality. Heart is, it's huge, vast. And so if you find yourself that you feel some fear, that you feel like anger that someone's trying to control you, or government agencies or whatever, they're doing this and that and whatever have you, know that that is only true, firstly, for that small area. Secondly, it is only true for you if you fall for it, if you believe it, if you own it. And yes, there are, we do live in a physical world. And so let's say, if you go to a shop and someone's closed the shop, and of course you can't then enter, so that's the kind of physical stuff. But when you are in your flow, you won't need to go to the shop when it's closed, because you're so firstly, you have this parts of you that have the overview of things, but you never end up. Or if you do, once or twice, whatever, don't beat yourself up, just move on. But you avoid all of those things. And at the same time, yes, some of the things can be annoying. Perhaps there's some new things that you have to do, like when it was COVID and stuff. But, for many people, COVID was in many ways not a limitation, because they've used that time to find themselves. They've used that time to re-educate themselves. Like there's so many, only now we see how many inventions and things have happened during that COVID time, because so many people were able to just focus on certain things so much. So everyone has had very, very different experiences with everything. And so I invite you to, to practice this, being perceptive of these spaces on the outside, and also to practice when you are perhaps, engaging with another person, to see if you can feel, while you're talking or whatever, when they come to the end of where they don't want to go any further, or can't, or don't think there is a reality outside of their limitation. But you just really, within yourself, freely keep going and see what it's there. And also it's interesting because you can actually then see, let's say, if you're talking with someone and you perceive their reality, they perhaps are limited to come to a certain space, and they say, okay, I can't go any further. But because you can go outside of that further, you are able to really see the results of how their reality plays out. So for example, let's say, if you can perceive that whatever someone's feeling, or you can perceive how they've structured their reality or what their beliefs are, they actually can't see where those beliefs will bring them to if they carry those beliefs to the end of their cycle. But you can actually see that because you're able to move way out of where they stop. So you're able to see and walk inside of yourself, walk to the end, to the result of what they're believing. And so this too, it gives you, it's one of those things also that other people, if you really were to talk to them about it, they would think you're magical or psychic or whatever. This is what this psychic things mean, because you're, like the person that we used to call psychic would see things because just simply because they're outside, their reality of awareness is much bigger, so that you can actually see how things work. Because friends, dear friends, all of the things are known, like they're not the I am is mystery, unknown. Just enough is to say I am that I am. But how the physical things work, or where all the different potentials and belief systems, these kind of things are able to be known if you are able to sort of walk through all of the limitations and just keep going in consciousness and come to the end of where the actual final result of that belief actually happens. So, for many, like when you see how things have turned out for some people or some things or some events, you were able to predict them. But at the same time now, because so much new is, we can't really, we can predict where a certain belief system will end up if it continues to the end of its cycle or circle. But because things are now so changeable, people can change like this. The weather changes, the belief systems of whole nations changes, all the different insights, whether it's because, of spiritual, of scientific research and all of that, that can drastically, dramatically change things in a day. So that's why we can't predict, but we can predict, we can see the result of a belief system. It's kind of like, if it's raining outside and if you go out without umbrella, you're going to get wet. Pretty much that's how belief systems are very predictable. So, but we can't predict whether a person will change them tomorrow, today, or in 1 hour or whatever. So whether they're going to walk with that belief system to the end, that's why it's all very much unpredictable at the moment, which is in some ways exciting. And so I invite you to practice, and to practice really. It's not that you're not out there already, outside of those parameters that normal people move in, but perhaps all of us can become much, much more aware of that, because we can then be much, much more aware of the situations, and also we can be much, much more aware of our relationship to those situations, to those people, and also just to be in the world. And if you are going out in the world, creating your a flow of abundance, it's good to be aware of these things, because, and also to realize, the confidence with which you can actually be a player on this next stage of this game of life, because you can really see how perhaps other people won't be able to, but you can for yourself see and perceive and feel good and joyful and confident in your work, especially because, as I mentioned a couple of times, our work is so nebulous and can't be scientifically proven, and many other people don't believe it at all. And that what is possible, simply because they can't see outside of their little space that they're in. But so the way they perhaps react to us, or if we speak with them, the way they maybe put down all of these things that we have to offer, we ourselves need to be really confident in ourselves, with what we've done, and be okay with the path that we've taken. And as I said, perhaps comparing to other disciplines, and meaning like what other people were doing, maybe within the physical world, they had much more success with you know, the material things and the houses and all sorts of things that they have been able to create for ourselves, because our work hasn't been valued in the same way. But it also has to do because each one of us hasn't felt that confidence and value, because these things are so etheric, and you can't just, you know, like if you take a car to a mechanic and they do some mechanical things, then you can prove that they've done a good job if the car works well, you know, if you, let's say if it was broken. So those kind of things are easy to prove. But our work, as I said, it's only, you are your own proof. And so how you present yourself, you have so many choices as to how you present yourself to the world and within the world. And so, dear friend, walk with confidence, with joy in your heart, and with this knowingness of what you have done and achieved. You know, it is okay to think about these things. Like, there were times within the spiritual journey that, you know, as I said, we looked away from these things, from goals and achievements and that. And of course, each one of us has a very different kind of relationship to these things than do normal people do. But if you are among normal people, then you do need to be using, and you do these kind of words and terms, and you come across them when other people are using, and so you do relate with them. And it's okay to be to redefine your life and to use the words that you want to use and that are helpful to you within your circle, in order so that your life really does blossom, and so that it can blossom in all ways, so that you are not limiting yourself just for some things that are no longer needed. You know, if you have, for example, if you are feeling that you're not so goal oriented, or a slave to a goal, then using goals is nothing wrong with that. You can now use it because you have changed your relationship to it and you're not a slave to it anymore. But you can freely use these words and expressions and find ways to be within the world, because regardless of what kind of, you know, which kind of, let's say, industry or creative endeavor that each one of us are in, you know, to really be flowing with abundance and to sort of allow all that we deserve and you deserve for the work that we have done. We do need to be part of the world as a whole and not be separated from it or be afraid of it, or, you know, and that again, it's very unique to an individual person. If you're working with things deeply and you feel the need to be separate in your own cave time, then do that. But be okay also if you are then in a different space now and you want to create something. Be open to changing. Don't sort of use the things of the past going forward, so to speak, you know. So you can use all these words, you can play with these words, you can create the meaning, what they mean to you. And that can be very different also to all of the people that perhaps you have traveled with, journeyed with up to now, because for each one of us, you know, these kind of things come at different times. They come at different times when we, let's say, reconnect with family, reconnect with other people, like reconnect with the world. And, you know, don't hold yourself back or limit yourself with all of the things that are really unnecessary, you know, and that perhaps other people that are not in that mature space yet. They may still be at a place where they're just starting, or they may have very many harsh things to say. No, 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 but the teacher said this and the teacher said that. You have to, you decide, do those things still are valid for you? Or how much, including here what I'm saying, Alexis, you are the decision maker, the king and the queen of your sovereign space. You decide what is true for you and what is not true, and what you own and what you don't own, and what is relevant for you and what is not relevant for you. And this, with freedom, there is this great responsibility also that, you come into your own strength and power and decision making in this way. And it is very, very thrilling. It is very incredibly thrilling. Dear friends, we are in such exciting times that, things change day by day, week by week, that it's quite the speed of change and what is going on. It's quite incredible. And so, allow yourself to expand, allow yourself to be wise, and allow yourself to be also new as a child. Allow yourself to play, allow yourself to feel your heart, and allow yourself to not be limited by those ideas of who is important in the world and who is not. You fly over all of those things, and all of the things that perhaps other people say within your reality, what is true and what is not true, and what is important and what is not important. And the authorities and non-authorities and all of that, remember, they are still in that small space, and you are flying outside of that. And so feel it as I'm speaking. I feel myself flying. And let your eyes sparkle and dance and play and enjoy. Enjoy your life, and don't limit yourself by what was, or by ideas that have no more space or place in where we are, where we're moving into. All is changeable, all is up for review again. We've done this quite a few times already. And so I'm going to have a drink now. Oh, I can see that we've gone quite for a long time today, but it was needed because, so much is happening, dear friends. Ooh, lots of movement, of energy. We'll feel the expansion. I feel the hearts lightening up. And yes, if there's still some things holding you back, dive right into them and resolve them and let them move, because these times are so conducive to this. They help you as possible. Some parts are so very stubborn inside, and maybe were too painful to feel up to now. Painful, or we were ashamed of them. Feel that part now, whatever the part that is giving you troubles. And feel how it too wants to dance. It too wants to move. It doesn't want to be stuck in your childhood when whatever happened, or in your teenage years, or when you were an adult. It doesn't want to be stuck or caught in that moment of time. It too wants to flow and dance and be free. And dear friends, enjoy. And so Until next time, thank you.